calls it a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Welcome on, Chris Taylor.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Dodger Heads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Scott Geirman, senior writer, Dodger Blue. I'm here with Anthony Witrado. How we doing, buddy?
I was doing a little bit better about 30 minutes ago when it looked like they could win this game, but we're gonna cope now.
We're gonna do some big time copium. Shout out to the 200 in here early, everybody. We appreciate you. I'm filling in tonight. Jeff and I did a little swap. I'm busy on Thursday night. Expected more, of a quality game. Looked like the Dodgers really had it, not in the bag, but looked like they were cruising to a good spot there. And the defense unravels. We got a lot to get into. Chat, I'm going to let you run wild. Give me some takes in there. Throw them in. Anthony and I always active in there. Keeping eyes on the chat. Very in line with what you guys, you think and kind of what you saw from tonight. We're going to let everybody trickle in. Just do us a quick favor. Hit the like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. A lot to unpack here. A lot of stupid mistakes. Handed a game away to the Chicago Cubs. And tonight, Anthony, we've got a stat. This is something I tweeted out yesterday or the day before. This is the first series. Prior to this, Dodgers have been on a heater since early August. It's the first series since playing the Phillies from August 5th to the 7th that they've lost.
Yeah, that's wild. I think we get caught, we end up walking through the forest and can't see all the trees, when we're in the midst of the season. That's pretty impressive. And for all of the sort of barking that we might do as fans about this team, that just shows you they've been one of the best in baseball for a while now. Essentially the whole season, but they've really been on a nice run since the All-Star break. So, it was probably going to happen at some point. Not the cleanest way to do it. It's a frustrating loss for sure because it looked like you said, they were sort of in control of this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, impressive nonetheless that it's been that long. Maybe start a new streak this week. So
definitely. So this is the first 3-run inning the Dodgers have had in over 2 years. I heard on the broadcast. Chat, let me know on a 1 to 10. How bad does that make you? How mad does that make you? 1,000 for me. On a game like this, when you have Tommy Edman in center field, Freddie Freeman earlier in the game, I know they ruled that a hit. For me, definitely wasn't. Drill him right in the chest. Got to make that play. Kike Hernandez reaches out, doesn't glove one, tries to make the tag before he secures the ball. Lots to get into. Stuff that's making me boil. I could just go on and on about that. Things you just can't let unravel. I can deal with 1. Maybe I can deal with 2. I can't deal with 2. I can't deal with 3 at all. Just stuff was kind of inexcusable at this point of the season. You look like you have guys coming in. Gavin Lux otherwise would have had the spot there at second base. Kike Hernandez comes in, makes an error there. We'll unpack all of it. But just quick recap. Dodgers defense implodes. Drop the second game, lose the series. Final 6-3. From what they've had, Dodgers pitching has allowed 27 hits in 2 games against the Chicago Cubs. How surprising is that for you, Anthony?
Yeah, it's surprising because their pitching has been better than that, even when it hasn't been great. And then I think when you consider the way Yamamoto started this game, and you knew he wasn't going to give you a whole lot. That was a decision obviously made before he even takes the mound.
Absolutely.
And he gave you as good a performance as he could have possibly given you, given the restraints on him. The kind of outing that makes you very hopeful that he is back and can be back at or near the top of this rotation again. Because in all honesty, that was the biggest part of this game that we were going to take away from it. Whether they won, whether they lost, that was the most important piece. And considering how he put them out there, it's a little surprising that the pitching couldn't. Ends up with that kind of number, I should say.
Kind of get this one done. You feel like a team like where the Dodgers are at, the trajectory they've been on. Prior to the series, they were 20-8 dating back to that series with the Phillies. Such dominance against a lot of quality opponents. And it kind of feels like people are saying it in the chat, it kind of feels like they've sold this. They've kind of let these go. And tonight, absolutely let this stuff go. They're going to end the year with a losing record against the Chicago Cubs, who I know have been playing some decent baseball as of late. So I'm going to tip a cap a little bit. But a game like tonight, it's not that the Cubs won it. It's that the Dodgers lost it for themselves. So definitely, I'm going to acknowledge that the Dodgers have been on a great run. They still have a solid lead in the division, 4.5 games over the Padres here. Padres won, Diamondbacks won tonight. But I'm also going to harp on them for just very poor mistakes that if they all happen, all together, can easily lose you a ball game.
Yeah, they were sort of indefensible mistakes for the most part. Like the ball off of Freddie. Okay, it was hit hard. He had an awkward hop. You'd like him to at least knock that ball down and keep it in front. But okay, I can kind of put that one off to the side a little bit. The Kike on the tag, the botched cutoff is I would say the cutoff was botched on that one. And then you allow the extra run to score there. That kind of stuff is like you're teaching high school freshmen, how to make those plays correctly. Like those shouldn't be things that we're worried about from a big league team. Look, they've been an okay defense for most of the season. Like these kinds of nights happen to every team at some point. Just frustrating, like I said, when you were kind of rolling through this one. You needed to find those last 6 outs or whatever it was, and it just sort of that the defense imploded, and you end up just sort of giving this one away. I think that's the frustrating part, is because you gave this one to them,
cruising,
and from situations where it was like, man, those are pretty fundamental plays that you're screwing up here. And so to watch it slip away that way is frustrating. I thought Doc's bullpen usage was mostly fine until I did not agree. And I believe the matchup was what dictated this, but I did not like Vesia coming out to start that inning. I thought if you have your kind of fireman guy waiting in the wings, just give him the ball, let him start a clean inning. If you're trying to steal one there, steal outs for Phillips, like
definitely.
You're saving him a handful of pitches, maybe. Like I just didn't get that part of it. Like I said,
definitely, especially because it's not to cut you off, but especially he comes out and he immediately issues a 4-pitch walk to Ian Happ, and then he goes straight to the ripcord. Like if that was it, like if Dave Roberts, like if he's out there for one batter, just in a switch hitting spot.
Agree.
If you're trying to save Evan Phillips from an immediate righty lefty matchup, you're giving Alex Vesia, how much of an advantage? There might be slight. It might be maybe plus. I know how bad that Evan Phillips has been against lefties, whichever. But I'm still going to bank on the fact that if you're immediately going to say, now it's it. Now it's pulled. So now you put in Evan Phillips, runner on first base, another immediate error, and it starts to snowball. We got a couple super chats to get here. Eric Flores, Dodgers make 3 errors, and Pete Crow Armstrong makes 3 gems. Ends the game on an absolute home run robbery where it looks like the fan almost, catches it in his hat. Would have been the best play of that 8th inning for the Dodgers, for sure, if that fan gloves that, right? So, Eric, thanks for the super chat. We appreciate you being here. Pete Crow Armstrong, man. He's been getting it done. They mentioned on the broadcast how good he's been. Looked like some loopy plays there, drops to a knee in deep right center field earlier, makes a play. It looked like the Cubs. It's just funny. On a night like tonight, people say fan interference. On a night like tonight, the Dodgers have such poor defense and nothing flashy about themselves. On the Cubs end, they're out here making some plays, and you're saying, damn, it feels like they just, stealing hits right and left,
Yeah, he's look, you got to be incredible out there if you're going to knock a guy like Bellinger into right field, because Bellinger's been a pretty good defensive center fielder. So this is what he does. They just came in bunches in this series. It felt like, and that one to end the game was, that was the best one of them all. And before the fans get going on the fan interference stuff and all that, like, if that play was ever to be reviewed, the hitter would have been out anyway, because the fans reaching over the wall, that constitutes the hitter being out if it causes the fielder to drop the ball or it to end up being a home run in that way or something like that. So
Definitely.
that would not have worked out in the Dodgers' favor either way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a couple more here. I'm going to toss them up. Chris, Chris Rum, we appreciate you. Anthony, definitely, and I, always in the chat. Always appreciate you joining in the Dodger Heads after every game, win, lose, vent with us. Let your thoughts fly in the chat. You know me. I entertain all of it. All of it. World Series odds up after tonight's Yamamoto outing. 4 errors by the Dodgers won't happen again this year. Yes, outlier thing. Definitely. You heard them on the broadcast. Yeah. I mentioned it earlier that 3 errors in 1 inning is the first time it's happened in over 2 years, or 2 years with the Dodgers. So definitely something that in bunches will lose you a game. And that's why it's emphasized so much. Big exclamation point on that. Those things will lose you a game in a close game. At that point, it's 3-1. And then it unravels, 5-run inning. From there, 6-3 ends up being the final score. It makes it easy. When you play that sloppy against a big league team, it's going to make it easy on them. Just no other way about it. In the bad, we got the Brewers, Phillies, Padres, D-backs win. So Dodgers lose a game they should have won. Everybody else behind them, around them, all takes a step forward. But Blake and I have like a thing about the 1 and 2 seed. Just kind of all depends. So if they don't have the number 1 seed, I'm not too upset. But we'll get
it's not the worst thing in the world. It's matchup dependent.
We'll get that on a different show. We'll toss a triple box, 4 box, and have a field day with it. $300, $10. We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. The Cubs have beat the snot out of us the last 2 games all season, honestly, absolutely all season. You look back, and that was the Bobby Miller game. I think if you want to have a good poll after Bobby Miller's first inning, I was like, dang, Bobby's on one. He found something, having a year, and then just the snowball, and now we have now. They just hit everything hard and for sure caught everything. Pages would not play another game this year.
I'll hit on this one first because that one pissed me off. I think as much as the errors did, probably more, because that's a mental mistake, right? That's another error.
Picked off right there.
That pickoff was another error. And it probably cost them a run, I think. You cannot do that. If you get frozen or you get caught leaning or something like that and you dive back and the ball beats you and they tag you, all right, hey, that stuff happens. To get called out that way, standing up, trying to lunge for the bag with your foot because you're a little too nonchalant and didn't want to dive back, inexcusable. And he obviously didn't get pulled from the game. And big league managers are very careful about how they deploy that maneuver. They don't want to embarrass guys, and it doesn't go over well in the clubhouse usually. But I would hope that when he got back in the dugout, there was some stern talking to there, because again, it's excusable if you get fooled on the pick attempt, or like I said, you're leaning because you're trying to get out to a secondary lead, or maybe you're thinking about going or something like that.
Yes.
You pick that way in that kind of situation, no excuse. Absolutely.
100%. Because, then the Flacco brings us up. Robert's pissed at Pages, didn't even look at him. Rightfully so. You're a rookie trying to crack a roster in October. You lead off against Shota Imanaga, who's been terrific. We're going to get into him a little bit. The fact that, his wart this year or at all recently has been just giving up some solo shots. He'll give up some hits, but you saw tonight, Dodgers had just, I think 1 or 2 opportunities, maybe 3. I think it was 1 or 2 or 3 runners in scoring position opportunities. One of them grounded into a double play. So when you get a leadoff single against him on a bang single, immediately, right when Pages got picked off, takes a lunge back, I said out loud, I was like, oh, he's out. Immediate. And then Rojas comes up. This is a great matchup for Miguel Rojas. Not a hard throwing lefty, someone you don't have to get the bat going for. You've just got to track something well. And he comes up, bangs a single. It was a bleeder, but he got bat on ball. That's just it. So you never know what's going to happen there. Max Muncy comes up, hits a deep fly, runners get over, and then anything goes on. Kike hits one deep right center field. Pete Crow Armstrong, terrorizing us again. He feels like Angel Pagan for me right now. I can't even look at his face. So yeah, man, I mean, it's inexcusable. 100% for a guy. It's the stuff we talked about earlier towards the trade deadline. guys who can't afford to make these mistakes. I know that Andy Paez can crush lefties. He showed it tonight. But when it comes to the mental errors, and when you think about him when he was in his early call-up, it was those mental errors, those base running mistakes that really cloud every single thing, in addition to the defense. But it's the bat and the mental mistakes where you kind of have to juggle. Is it worth it? Is he going to cost you something somewhere? So it's definitely something to keep an eye on going forward. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the question on all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you remember like when Puig came up, not just when he came up, his entire career, right? And Puig made some stupid outs on the bases, but for the most part, they were all him being over aggressive, or thinking he could do something that had very low percentage of succeeding, something like that, going first to third when he shouldn't, or trying to stretch a single into a double or whatever. Though it was those kinds of things, right? And for Paez, it's like it's the opposite. He's doing this stuff in the opposite way, where it's like, dude, like show a little more effort. Where it's Puig, where like, you might be pulling your hair out, but it was like, he's trying. Like, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't going down without a fight. And by that, I mean like getting his uniform dirty or something like that. That was just a inexcusable out. And I thought really like the way they attacked him early on, I thought like if that could have been a big inning, he might have been out of there and they might have gotten to the pen earlier. I just thought that of all the mistakes in the game, that one was probably at the top of the list in terms of frustration for me.
Sure. Yeah, it's the small issues because we can see it's the ones that can easily be forgotten and everything that happened in the 8th inning. But it's something like that where at that point in the bottom of the 7th, the game's 3-1, and you can add on there, And guys, I see you in chat talking about Dave Roberts not going to do anything there. I mean, keep an eye on playing time for Paez, man. Like keep an eye on that stuff there. Like just keep an eye on it. That's all we're going to see. I'm not expecting him to rip him a new one in front of the clubhouse, but keep an eye on the playing time.
And he's not going to do. That's not going to happen.
That's not it.
In front of the camera. Like that's not how these things go. Like, any of our jobs, like we're not trying to get ripped in front of the teams that we work with, right? Like the boss is going to call you into his or her office and they're going to tell you what you did wrong and that you can't do that again. So to say that he's not going to say anything to him is just it's wrong. Like,
and we gotta just look ahead. Nomo brings this up here. Teoscar, is coming right back. He was in the on deck circle there after Muncy. Anything happened, so he was ready to go. So we can expect Teoscar Hernandez to be ready to go here, and then those opportunities for Andy Paez lessen. So you might even see Chris Taylor some more. You're going to see Kike Hernandez some more, and those opportunities for Andy Paez. Who knows? You just cannot have those mental mistakes. So I'm glad people brought that up. I'm glad you brought it up because it's something else that people might have forgotten about.
And those are the ones that, And those are the ones that feel like those are the ones that can linger, right? Like
extra runs, man. Extra runs.
Those errors, like they're going to go, you know what? That was bonehead stuff. Like Rojas is going to go, I should have caught that. I should have cut that ball off. Or, Freeman's going to go, you know what? I should have backed up on that or whatever. Like they're going to fix those. Like that mental stuff with Paez, that's stuff that you worry about later on.
Definitely. Yeah. And Deuce, like, be careful what you wish for. Taylor, for Andy Paez. People saying Andy Paez needs to ride the bench for a little bit. I'm just saying things will be spoken about. He's just not going to do it publicly. A lot of managers don't do that now. It just that those things do not happen. But there will something will be spoken. He will be talked to. Like we won't be privy to those conversations there. But you better believe that the veterans of the team will say something to him, and it will happen. It will happen. So that's where it's currently where it's at. We've got more super chats here to go into. Timmy, $5. We appreciate you, man. It's crazy to think every team plays us like it's their World Series. I mean, I understand the emotion. We saw it against the Angels, definitely, but it feels like there are some unusual clusters of premier plays when it happens against the Dodgers. And Mookie Betts can look back on the season and say, I was damn right. I was damn right when I said it at Dodgers Fest that every team is going to play them like it's their World Series. Also, do you think Stone and Glasnow are coming back for the postseason? I would say Gavin Stone is a TBD. We've got some more on Tyler Glasnow, but I definitely think that Tyler Glasnow will be ready to go by the postseason. Gavin Stone is still a TBD. What do you think about that, about both parts of that question?
Yeah, I think Glasnow will be back. We're going to assume no setbacks here.
Mhm.
And it sounds like he's not going to make a rehab start. I think, sim game, and then he might be back. So that's good. That's good news. I think that's what I saw. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we've seen the last of Stone. I said that on the last show that I did with Matt. I think he's done. I don't think, based on what it sounds like the injury is, there's no time for him to build back up and
Sure.
get back in there. I think best case scenario is it's one of those situations where we're like, well, if the Dodgers make the World Series, the reports are that he could be back for that. It'd be
Yeah.
one of those.
And that's like a worst last case scenario. All
Yeah.
things click green. You know what I mean? Like, we're getting into the latter half of the season here. The runway is getting incredibly small, and you're getting to a point where Yamamoto came back, dominated tonight. Glass now looks, solid in his rehab bullpens here. More is to come there. And Clayton Kershaw, by all accounts, he's just waiting for to be able to push off on that foot. He's keeping his arm, keeping his body ready to go. But Jack Flaherty, he's a stud, 8-1-8 kid. So you have guys at the front end here where I'm not forcing Gavin Stone to be out there. And I don't think any fan should be critical if they just decide to, punt him towards next year. He's given hell. He's given everybody hell all year long. Gavin Stone has been the guy. Like, he has been.
And Landon Knack continues to impress too. So
you know me with him.
He could potentially give them another option there. So, I don't think that they're going to rush Stone back if they feel like he's just not there, because they're expecting to have some options, at least 4, that could be very viable for them going into the postseason.
Definitely. I see, Ray Soto, I see you in there putting your 1, 2, 3 for October. I think that's a great debate. We'll get into that. I know Blake and I would really love to have a conversation about how we would line up. And I know Jake, I don't know if he's tuned in tonight, but we've had a lot of conversations about the order of the rotation, all things click healthy. Richard Flores, I'm going to toss this up. Thank you for $10, man. Always good to see you in here. Game sucked, but it's great to have you in here, man. The Cubs outfield came into Dodger Stadium, drank all of our beer, and ate all of our snacks. Yeah, they did, man. I had a lot of buddies there tonight. Defense in the 8th was so bad. The White Sox couldn't believe how bad it was.
Yeah.
That's damning, Rich. That's damning. I mean, this chat would agree with you 100%.
I would agree with you. Yeah. It was brutal. It was tough to watch. But again, those nights are very far and few between. You don't really expect to see that again this season with only a few weeks left, right? It's just kind of like, okay, they got that one out of their system. Let's move on. Again, for me, the one that is concerning or is most frustrating is the Pages mental error.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a lot to bring in there at a spot where, if you have the opportunity, it looked like they were keying in on him. It felt like a couple different things. Imanaga's incredible at being able to pitch around damage. That's just what it is. He's got some filthy stuff there. There's a reason why he's been one of the most consistent pitchers in Major League Baseball all year. And there's a reason why he got, such a solid contract, and he's going to be a force for the Cubs. He's just stellar at it. You can't give away those opportunities. Get him in the stretch there at the bottom of the lineup. Let things flip back over with. Get 2 runners on base for Max Muncy. Things could have happened just like in the bottom of the 9th, but you could have had that earlier, had some runs. And then there's not this discussion of these errors cost them a ball game. It's a matter of possibly just bringing them a bit closer, and the Dodgers come away with the win. So all things matter. All things matter when it comes to runs, scoring runs against premier pitching here. Ty Wen, Roberts brings Vesia back to start the inning. I'm going to lead this one to you, Ant. Pages lost again. Can't run the bases. Barnes cannot throw, should not be catching. It's pathetic. He said it's pathetic. Yeah. Take it away. Whole thing.
Yeah. Look, you and I were chatting before we jumped on the live stream. And one of the first things I said to you was, I didn't really like, I understood where it was coming from. I did not like Vesia going back out there.
Yeah.
And hoping to pass the baton to Phillips at some point in that inning. I thought just let Phillips go in that inning. That was sort of the way I thought about it, especially like this late in the season. You know what? Like, okay, all these guys are taxed. All your high leverage guys are taxed. So Vesia did what he needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bring him back out. Just let him sit after that. And even if you're trying to steal an out there for Phillips and you're shortening his outing a little bit, I mean, again, you're saving him maybe a handful of pitches or so. I just didn't like it when it happened. Again, I sort of understood what they were thinking there with it, but just, if you got your bullpen ace there, and you're saving Kopech, I would assume, for if you have the lead in the ninth, then just give the ball straight to Phillips. And if you can't trust him that much in that kind of situation, then we got other issues.
100%. And it feeds right into my narrative with him. I mean, if you've kept tabs with the streams that Blake and I have done, my stuff with Evan Phillips is, if there's an inning where it lines up with a lefty and then two righties, whatever order, I'm fine with it. I'm totally good with it. And it's got him back on track. And for a little bit of perspective, Evan Phillips has been dominant. And I know he's the pitcher of record on the mound whenever all of that, commotion, that ridiculous, inexcusable defense is going on there. But it starts right off with an error, from Austin Barnes there. And it just gets the ball rolling. So the only pitch that Evan Phillips really made that was a mistake was that front door sweeper. That Seiya Suzuki missile down the, that's kind of it, man. So he's been good. I know he gave up some contact. Seiya Suzuki, put the ball in play. You got to miss some bats here. But he just made one bad mistake, and that's it. It just was the snowball effect. Strings right back.
It's amplified when the defense does what the defense did.
Always, man. Always. I've got some more super chats here. I'm going to put Laura. I'm going to hang on to yours. I see it. I'm going to piece that up if you don't mind. I'm going to wait till we do some stuff looking ahead towards tomorrow at the back end. Love you. I appreciate you being here. Give me a minute. We'll get to that one. Jose Machado, I'm going to toss this up for the moment. This is what happens when you keep flip-flopping Michael Kopech and Evan Phillips. What's your thoughts on this? Because I've harped on that I would just not hand the job to Michael Kopech because he doesn't like being called the closer, but he's got the best stuff on the staff. I clearly think that he's got to be at the back end, but if they truly feel like it's matchup based and they're going to go this route, just like what you said, why don't you just go straight to Evan Phillips and you don't even meddle with bringing Alex Vesia back out there for the eighth, and you just go straight to him and say, here's a clean inning, Evan, take it away.
Yeah, I think that I'm okay with them not saying so-and-so is our closer, period. I'm all right with that. And it sounds like those guys in the back end of the bullpen are okay with it too, as long as, there's some open communication throughout the game. You're looking in the sixth inning, you're starting to look down at what the rest of the order's looking like. And you go, okay, I can see, Phillips coming in here, or I can see Kopech here, or Treinen here, whatever the case may be, however the matchups sort of play themselves out. I'm okay with that part. And I also do kind of like Phillips being able to, if you can deploy him anywhere from the sixth inning to, maybe he closes that night. I'm okay.
Big fireman guy? You big fireman role guy for him?
I think he's done the job. Typically, it takes a different kind of cat to do that job well, I think. And I think Phillips has that in him. He's proven that he can do it so far. So I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me so much, but I do wish, for those guys, if those are your leverage guys, then just give them the rock. Don't worry about, unless it's just an absolute no-brainer of a situation, which I did not think that situation was there with Vesia, then just give them the rock to start the inning and say, go get these three. If you're going to have that much confidence in those guys, and they've earned it, they've been pretty good lately, then just give them the ball. That sort of situation doesn't rear its head very often.
Sure.
So hopefully we don't have to, there's no discussion about that going forward anymore. But to answer the question, I'm okay with them not naming the guy and just being like, you know what, it's going to be matchup dependent, because it's worked so far. And I think both of those guys, Kopech and Phillips, sort of, understood what the situation is. And I think they're both okay with it, because I think they're both getting some shine out of this.
For sure. Yeah. I don't have a problem. I know I saw GI put that in there, that he didn't have a problem with Vesia coming out. They just didn't execute. Sure. Defense didn't come up, and then we just bleed right in there. But as far as giving Evan Phillips a clean inning, I just prefer that. If you're going to, I know Alex Vesia threw 9 pitches or 8 pitches. I think it was 9 pitches in the 7th inning, and comes back out for the 8th. So he has an up down there, air mails 4 straight, puts a runner on, and then that's the quick hook right there. I just would prefer, if it's that quick in the immediate matchup and you want to give him righty, whatever. But I would just give Evan Phillips the inning, make it easy on yourself. If he throws 25 pitches anyways, Evan Phillips threw 18 strikes. Defense cost him. We're going to put it in the past. We've taken 30 minutes to allow, everybody to vent. We appreciate that. Damn well I appreciate it. You have to. You got to keep these teams in check. You got to keep them in, absolutely. But we have to get into Yoshinobu Yamamoto. If we got any more super chats, hold off on those for 1 second. We'll get to him. But he was absolutely stellar. And everybody in chat, just let me know what you saw and how confident. What does that boost you to? Like, what do you see out of Yoshinobu Yamamoto? And how much, did that, what did that do for you? Knowing that you've got him right there. And I'm pretty, I spelled his name right. Did I? No, I didn't. I spelled his name wrong. Dang. Whoops. Pull that down. My bad, guys. But Yoshinobu Yamamoto, in the clinic that he put on there, understanding that he was on a pitch count, okay, goes 4 solid innings, has a 71% strike rate, 11 whiffs, 8 punch, allows 4 hits, and he did not allow an earned run. I don't care what that line says. Faces 15 hitters, looked electric.
That stuff was dirty. I mean, he had it working. I thought not only did he command it well, but he had up, down, north, up, down, side to side. It was all moving for him. The Cubs batters looked like they just had no chance, no clue what was coming. And when it did come, they had no idea how to put a bat on it. Super, super impressive. He looked tonight like he looked right before he got hurt.
Yes.
And that is a really, really good sign. I'll tell you this.
This is the biggest thing right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, he was just going after guys. He was in attack mode. And we've seen him sort of nibble a little bit. And that's sort of when he's had a little bit of issues, a little bit of trouble. When he's aggressive and he's attacking, I think that's when he's been at his best. And he did that tonight. And again, I thought that he made the Cubs look, pretty foolish in the 4 innings that he was out there for. That's the biggest takeaway from this game for me. They got the loss, ugly defense. The Pages mistake, the bullpen, should he have started Vesia in that inning or not? All of that stuff. Fine. Okay. Biggest takeaway, most important takeaway was, as Godfrey says, the Yamamoto was fire. That's the biggest takeaway for me. Yep. It's the thing coming out of tonight that gives me the most hope for October.
Absolutely. And he was mixing so well, going after guys, staying in the strike zone, he threw 19 splitters, right? I mean, he was humming. He had a 60% whiff rate on his splitter, 50% whiff rate on his curveball, just everything cooking, man. Like staying in the strike zone, working backwards, which is beautiful to see, showing that he's got confidence in his stuff. He's not holding back. And it's important to keep in mind, guys, and even myself, that when a guy is humming like that, it's good to remember that he was just going to have to, take a few starts, build that stuff up here. Right. And he's just got so much movement, so much horizontal break, so much vertical break, like everything moves, and he's going to get calls. I see people trolling talk about him getting strikes out of the zone. His stuff is filthy, man. Like his stuff is just so good. Like receiving it well, looks good. Barnes doing it from that way. He's not the best, but tonight he was getting so much whiff. He's going to get calls outside the strike zone. That's just no way fans or buts about it. That's going to happen when it's crossing that. What are you going to do? The guy looked disgusting. Yeah. Gives me so much confidence. 26-year-old, there was a lot of clouds around his injury, and it gave me pause. They asked this question of us months ago about, is he going to be back? And I was like, I'll believe it when I see it, just because of the investment, just because that you don't want it. Same thing with like Gavin Stone. I know the dollar amount's not attached there, but it's about not rushing a guy, because you might just say, okay, they're on course. They've got, top record in the National League. They're all world talent, but you've got all this time on this contract. You've got all these other years. Why would you mortgage it right now? He did everything tonight to instill so much confidence that you've got a damn ace right at the front end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you might have 3 if everybody's right.
Yes.
And that's impressive. And that's something, the biggest bugaboo for the Dodgers going into October for the last, I don't know, few years has been like, they didn't really have what felt like a true stopper.
Mm-hmm.
And, even when Kershaw was good and he had the sub-3 ERAs, he didn't feel like that anymore. We don't need to get into all the October narrative stuff, but
Sure.
It feels like now they might have 3 of those dudes. Like Yamamoto is just dirty. And he was, before he got hurt, I mean, he was looking like a number 1 before that happened, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we all seen what Glasnow can do when he's right. And Flaherty has looked flat out dominant. Aside from the some of those fly balls getting out, he's looked straight up dominant.
He's a psycho. I'm a little psycho, man. He's out there talking to himself on the mound. I said, I like that. That's sexy stuff there, man. I like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The big day will be tomorrow, though, for Yamamoto, yes. Right? That's going to be, they're not going to let us know that, so we won't know right away. But, fingers crossed that he goes into the stadium tomorrow and they're going to ask him how he's feeling. And he says, fine, let's roll. Let's go. Let's get Glasnow back. And I think they're looking very, very good.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's so much to like about him. It's just, there was so much hype surrounding it. And then he hasn't been here for so long. Injury happens. I keep falling right back to the start in New York with how, looking at the moment and looking at the atmosphere there, I've preached all year that I was going to just harp on this team for big games, big pitching matchups, and grade them that way, because everybody in chat, Dodger fans aren't dumb. We're numb. We're numb to the fact that they're going to find a way to be at the top of the division or get into the postseason. Yeah. They have the blueprint, but how can we grade them, right? How you grade them on nights like tonight, bonehead things. You understand outlier stuff happens, but when those pressure moments happen, and for me, with a new guy like Yamamoto coming in, trophy case full, comes over. He has the pedigree. I believed in every bit about him, that things would translate. It just happens. He's the most decorated pitcher to come out from that league in a really long time. So I had a moment when his start in New York where it's like, he's not afraid of this. I know they didn't have Soto, but he's not afraid of that moment. He's not afraid to be on the mound in Yankee Stadium and guide them to a win.
Yeah, I mean, that was that was as impressive as I've seen a start from a pitcher, considering all of those factors. First, he's a rookie in the big leagues, who he was facing on the road, the bright lights around that game being on national TV, just all of that stuff, and him being able to perform, and then, the contract and just the expectations that are heaped on him, all of that stuff, right? You take everything into consideration, and he's just been incredibly impressive this season. You think back to Korea and everybody was like, this guy's not worth the money. This guy's not worth the money. And it's like, oh, it's one start. Like, let's chill out. This guy's looking like a number 1 now. And again, if they can walk into next month with a healthy Yamamoto, a healthy Glasnow, a healthy Flaherty, and then, pick your 4th starter from a gaggle of guys.
Yeah.
Boy, that looks really tough to beat in a series.
Yeah, and chat, get involved here on this one, because it's something I was texting Anthony about before we hopped on. It's our first duo video together, so it's great to have it. Tip the cap there. It's great to have you on with me, man. Chat, you've paid attention to this, that the only thing that for me that I just need to ensure that they do on the front end with their starters is avoid another situation where the starting pitching doesn't give this offense a chance. Yeah. And that's all I need them to do. Like, if you're just those names you're putting out, the results that they're putting in, Yamamoto tonight makes me very positive that you've got 1. Flaherty pitching in 1,000-degree heat, going out there, 818 kid. He wants the spotlight. He wants to be in LA. You've got 2. Glasnow, all things are clicking green for the moment. We've got to see. You've got a 3. So it's something they didn't have in the 2023 playoffs. You're talking about a Clayton Kershaw that was hindered. They had no plans for Ryan Pepio. Lance Lynn got a nod, and Bobby Miller forgot how to pitch. So,
I mean, you look at that. Look at those names you just threw out there, and what they threw out there.
For sure.
And then you look at what they have looks like it's coming together to line up now. I mean, that's night and day stuff.
100%, man. 100%. And I got to pull. Yeah. Hep. I mean, I appreciate that. Tonight was, I know it was ridiculous, and we're watching the game and I was like, okay, cruising. We're going to have a nice post game. Not going to have to talk about anything ridiculous. I don't have to talk about Chris Taylor or anything tonight. I don't need to talk about any pinch hit swaps, none of that.
Famous
and then an error fest goes on. But the star of today was Yoshinobu Yamamoto for sure. And nothing that happened can take it away, because a game, I know it's a game they should win, a game against the Cubs where you're winning 3-1, could have added runs on, missed opportunities day and Flub's day. That outside of it, the bullpen would have been fine, all things considered.
Yeah. And to leave everybody with maybe hopefully a little bit of a better taste in their mouth coming off of, what was a frustrating loss, considering how they lost it. It looked like it was a game that they were going to win. Biggest takeaways here tonight: Yamamoto looking good, looking like he's going to be ready for October and to be that kind of guy. And then Gratterall back, looked pretty solid. We'll see what this continues to look like, but got two guys back that are going to be probably key pieces, one for the rotation, one for the bullpen. Both looking healthy, both looking good. Yes. Bigger picture here, looks like they're in pretty good shape.
Good positive takeaway, man. I mean, it's easy to be negative. It's easy to say that, they're going to lose their first series in over a month, and that sucks, and that this game was a wash. But the biggest storyline going in was, how is Yamamoto going to be? It's just that a very outlier occurrence happened, and it blew them a game, and it exacerbated a problem in that 8th inning, where outside of one pitch for me really wasn't too bad. But we'll talk about those things another day. We just got to look ahead. Now we got Bobby Miller to deal with, and hopefully they avoid getting swept, because I'm not on the live tomorrow, and the chat's going to give, I think, Jeff some hell. That's going to be crazy if that happens, Are you on here with him?
I'm not on tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm not sure who Jeff's on with, but
take it easy, chat. Guys, if Bobby Miller doesn't have one, I mean, take it easy. Hopefully the offense can overcome it, You got a couple super chats here. Jay Riff, I'm going to toss this up. Team is playing inconsistently. I disagree. And the rotation concerns me. If we are swept in the NLDS again, will Robert get the boot? They're not playing inconsistent ball, just like I said earlier. Appreciate the super chat. Absolutely. And I think your thing is super mega baseball. Great game. Like I mentioned, before this series, they were 20-8 since the beginning of August, following that Philly series that, they should have taken care of business there. They've played a lot of good teams lately, absolutely taken care of business there. We're talking about the Orioles. The Mariners are in a hunt, their pitching staff there. The Diamondbacks took care of business, 3 of 4. I mean, you name it, man. I mean, it's easy to just say they're playing inconsistent ball when a night where 3 errors in an inning happens.
Beat the Brewers in that stretch too.
Yeah, if they're off, if you're talking, Joe Man says their offense is very inconsistent. Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's something that can be looked at for sure. Yeah, like a night today.
It's been pretty solid though since it's gotten healthy.
100%. It's been good. Angry Mookie Betts has been on a tear. I mean, you can pick and choose games where things don't come up, but how are you going to argue with me about 20-8 going into this series? You can't. You just really can't. Best record in ball. It just is what it is. All things.
And first series lost in more than a month.
Yeah, I mean
they've been. I would disagree with the inconsistent part. I think they've been pretty consistent. And then as far as the rotation goes, you just heard my positive silver lining take on tonight. Is it looks like this rotation's coming together and it's getting healthy. Sure. And it may actually be the strength of this team come October, which is something we have not been able to say about pitching in the playoffs for a while.
Yeah, definitely. I see people there need Teoscar back. His strikeouts are needed. I mean, they need Teoscar back for one, the vibes, and you need him for his absolute headhunting, stuff at the plate. He's a force when he's in there. And it definitely puts Andy Paz in a spot where you're talking about pinch hit stuff and it makes things clearer. It definitely, your rotational stuff with your platoon guys, the whole picture gets clearer when you have your starting pieces, your main pieces there. But Jay Riff, talking about Dave Roberts getting the boot in the NLDS. I mean, a lot of people considered that last year in 2023 following that. But it's really about his relationship with the players in the clubhouse and who are you going to get otherwise, right? I mean, he has more opportunities in the postseason than anybody. Last year, how are you going to blame him for the pitchers being absolutely terrible? how are you going to blame that on Dave Roberts? The offense didn't show up at all. Pitchers didn't show up at all. If you want to talk about the other years, we'll get into that. That's a longer discussion. But if they weren't going to do it after back-to-back losses to division opponents in the DS, are they going to do it again? Like, are they going to do it now? Like, if things go terribly, Blake and I had a conversation about it. I think it's the way that if it happens, if it's just a managing disaster class, sure, the conversation can be had. But if the players just don't show up, I don't think they're just going to say, we need to just make a change to make a change. Dave Roberts has been a stabilizing force, and there's a reason why the players love him, and that's a decision above our heads. It's not popular because we all know, Anthony and I all know, that the immediate thing is fire Dave Roberts, do it. But and Skip Schumacher, I mean, you think he's built for them? You think he's built for LA? I don't know. He maybe, but players let him down in the post. Yeah, J Riff, it's hard. I'd be hard pressed to find somebody else. And you better believe I'm not saying, let me go sign an old school manager that's going to bring back old school ball. That's just not happening.
Yeah.
So it's the best way that I can say it. Longer conversation if it happens again. Blake and I, Anthony, will be on here criticizing whatever we have to, just because if things go wrong, critique is deserved, man. Hawaiian Kira, if team stays ahead in the standings with Bobby Miller and Walker Buehler, can Glass now stay off rotation until 1 or 2 games starts before the postseason? I really wouldn't. I mean, they're going to slow play it. Like, I really wouldn't. Like, I would try to get Tyler Glass now as much run as you can. I know they just need to find some innings. I think I'm in the camp that I would prefer him to be out there and getting reps at the big league level and go from there. I mean, this kind of tees us up into our next segment here, something with Tony Gonsolin. Tony Gonsolin shined today. AAA start, looked great, came out of nowhere. Before we even look into it, did you even have him on your radar at all?
No. And I'll be honest with you, I still don't. He's not going to be in the rotation. He would be a bullpen piece if something does happen. I would not count on it, but it's very promising so far. Because he's going to factor in next year. I mean, imagine, let's just play a little fantasy baseball here. And let's say, okay, Glass now, Yamamoto, Ohtani. Let's say they can sign Flaherty. That's 4 guys. And now there's a fight for that 5th spot. And you got guys like Gavin Stone and Landon Knack and Tony Gonsolin. And, who knows what happens with Kershaw. Who knows what happens with Buehler? Who knows where Bobby Miller fits into all of it, right? Like, you have a huge battle for maybe that 5th spot. And that's great. And if Gonsolin is the guy who wins it, then more power to him. But I think the fact that he is now he's going to end up putting himself in that discussion no matter what, whether he gets back and pitches for the Dodgers this season, or even if he does it. I think what you're going to see now, and let's say, he'll make, maybe a handful of starts or so. It's going to be us talking about, throwing his name into that discussion in the wintertime. And I think that's a huge positive because the guy's been an all-star before. He's a good pitcher. So I like it. Again, I would be surprised if we see him with the Dodgers at all in any capacity. But the fact that he's back out there now, very promising. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, it came out of nowhere. I mean, I'm so in tune with, a lot of prospect stuff. I lean on Blake and Matt a lot for rehab guys, guys making debuts in AAA, stuff like that, how those things are going. And I kind of, Blake would have kept me in tune there. But, Tony Gonsolin tonight goes 2 innings, throws 32 pitches, 75% strike rate, 5 whiffs, 3 punch, just allows 2 hits, scoreless. So no walks. He's pounding. I mean, he's going out there 4-seam cutter, his patented changeup, mixing a curve, and then tosses a sinker. But, velocity readings look good. As far as what he could be for this team, that's still TBD and how they view him. Can he be a multi-inning weapon? Is he going to get enough whiff? Like, if he maintains that, definitely. Like, if there's something, if it's not Landon Knack, if they feel like Tony Gonsolin's a better option there, that's the kind of role that I would say. Is it going to be a piggyback guy? Is it going to be someone with, Tyler Glass now? If he doesn't have enough to get a full, Orlando, he's still got that splitty for sure. If somebody needs a piggyback start, you need someone to mop up some innings and be a playoff hero here and eat up a good portion of a game. Tony Gonsolin's got the length. Landon Knack could do it. I think that's the area that Tony Gonsolin could be. But chat, if we get into a spot where Tony Gonsolin's in like starter conversations and stuff like that, then we're talking bad times. So I would just aim and expect for, not mop up, but long relief and maybe a multi-inning weapon if he even has an opportunity to make the postseason roster. You agree on that, man?
Yeah, I do. And I think the interesting conversation is about the piggyback stuff if he does come back, because what you're then doing is you are taking a bullpen piece away from that roster.
Sure.
Because I don't think if he's a piggyback guy, you're going to use him as a reliever away from that start. I don't really see that necessarily. But if he's a piggyback guy, then either him or Landon Knack or whoever he piggybacks with is going to end up taking a bullpen, a reliever spot off of that roster. And you got to weigh the good and the bad there, because, whose spot is he taking? Do they really need that? Because you're looking at those bullpen guys and you're going to use them, for the most part, you're going to use every guy you have there.
You want you want everything ready to go. You want no wasted roster pieces. And I fully agree with that. So I know Bob's saying, I don't know if you said Gomes is prepping about 2025 for Tony Gonsolin, if that's what you're referring to, then maybe it's just about seeing what he has and finishing the 2024 year with a good boost here. But just for the sake of conversation, if he continues this if his stuff looks good, and then they want to supplement Landon Knack with somebody else, or they just, Landon Knack, something happens, God forbid anything there, knock on wood, because that's my guy. But it's definitely all options can be on the table if he continues to have these positive results here. And I see a lot of Landon Knack hype in the chat, and I appreciate the hell out of it. Like 818, yeah, why is Knack so underrated? iTest says he's top line. People saying that he's going to start game 4, just let him do it. And I see Hep doing that. He's shown enough right now for me. I said on Dodgers territory that he was an arm that could come up and be a difference maker just from his role. I'm not saying he's going to be incredible, but just from his role, he's going to be a difference maker. Comes up, has a good start, so keep an eye on that. I liken the role that he could play to Landon Knack, long guy, but I honestly think Landon Knack could start a game. And the second portion of this is Tyler Glasnow tosses his second bullpen session with the sim game lined up later this week. All reports that he could possibly, I know Matt talked to me, Matt Moreno, gentleman and a scholar, told me that with all things click right there, that he could bypass a rehab outing. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, that he could bypass a rehab outing altogether and come straight back up to the big leagues. You okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think what that means on all fronts, his side and the team side, is that they think he's fine, if that's the 100%. Case. And what it also says is that the ramp up is going to be quick for him. They see him as not having to wait too long to get built up to where he's going to need to be. And also, like, they want his bullets being used at the big league level immediately. I like that. It's what they did with Mookie. I'm for it, because I think having covered baseball for a long time, when that happens, they're saying, like, as long as he's feeling good the next day after these sessions,
sure,
he's ready. And that's how they're looking at it. And the fact that you're telling me that Tyler Glasnow, who was at one point the undisputed number 1 of this rotation this season, is ready to go, let's ride. Because like I said earlier, you give me Flaherty, you give me Yamamoto, and you give me Glasnow, and then we're going to pick a 4th guy. That's as good as the Dodgers have had in a long time.
Yeah. It's just a matter of making sure they're prepped and ready to go. Don't stress anybody out that doesn't need to. If you've got I know the injuries make it so, like, why would you ever believe in what the Dodgers, their training staff has going on here? But it's about the cost and the contract attached. And if they think there's a risk involved, then they're not going to do it. Like,
exactly.
They're just not going to do it.
Yeah. They would not be doing this if they were like, well, we're not sure, but we really need him.
Yeah.
No, they would be overly cautious here, and they would put him in some rehab games. They would not be talking about doing this as a possibility.
Yeah. And Bob says they're just going to let him rehab in the show for sure. If they believe his stuff is good enough and it looks good in the pen and side sessions, sim game, like why not? Absolutely. It's going to, like in a lot of the stuff that you saw tonight from Yamamoto in terms of they're going to have him on a count. They're going to have him on a, a tighter schedule there. But it's definitely steps in the right direction. This is opposite of what the Dodgers have had, and fans like take a side. Like even if something else, there's a hiccup anywhere, God forbid, this is a polar opposite of the news that we've dealt with in recent years about injuries. At one point, it was Max Muncy done for the year, and they were just saying, if we make it to the DS, CS, maybe there's a return. Not going to happen. Last year, it was going into the postseason totally on fumes, and you've got no options, and you never had a shot. And it was over before you could even go buy your merchandise at Dick's Sporting Goods. There was nothing. So I'm excited about it. It's hard. I'd be hard pressed to find anybody that's not having a positive view on good injury news coming about. Tyler Glass now here, Yamamoto tonight. Yeah, has to be good stuff all around. All right, awesome segment there. Giving a tip of the cap to Glass now for making his way back. Yamamoto for sure. We got a lot of super chats here to catch up on. Brody Brown having only one left-handed reliever in the bullpen is a major problem. Yeah, with Anthony Banda now out, and Nick Ramirez got DFA'd, right?
Yeah.
So he's gone. How much of a problem is just having one lefty in the pen for you?
Yeah, it's an issue. Without looking at the splits and guys who can get both guys out or both sides out or have reverse splits or something like that, without having those off the top of my head, yeah, it's you want more than one guy. I think it brings some other guys into play that maybe would not have been previously. I'm sure it's something that they're already discussing in the front office, but yeah, I think it's something that is probably going to need to be addressed. And, Gratterall's back now too. And so that makes things, he's obviously going to be there in October as long as he's healthy. So just brings in another element that you weren't expecting to have to deal with, yesterday. I see the Dodger Blue account here saying the splits are how the Dodgers found themselves in this position. They kept saying that their right-handed pitching can get lefties out. So, yeah.
Remember that earlier in the year? I remember being asked in the first 2 weeks of the season about Tanner Scott. I remember that vividly on live. People asked me about Tanner Scott, and I was like, he's been great for years. And then the dude goes out here. Now he's playing for the Padres. And I was like, Alex Vesia went on a heater at the end of the year. And they've leaned on him. They haven't pulled off Alex Vesia at all. He's just been consistent all year long, dominant. He's disgusting. Fastball is one of the best in the league. But a lot of people saying, Banda was overused lately. For sure. I've noticed that definitely. It looks like he's just been used a lot at a high clip here, pitching in a lot of leverage. So definitely those things, those pieces, those, spots in the armor can start to get exposed here for sure. Got a lot of, Kira. Shout out to you. If the team stays, we already talked about that one. My bad. One more. Here we go. Laura, what are we expecting out of Bobby Miller tomorrow? What are you expecting out of Bob?
He's pitching for his playoff life.
Gotta be, right?
He has to be. This is going to be an interesting one for me. It's going to be one that is going to have me glued to the TV, because I think right now, everybody here probably knows my stance on where I feel the division is going to go. I think the Dodgers will win it by at least 5 games. They got to keep their foot on the gas, but I think they're going to be fine. So what that takes me, that my attention then goes to, the 30,000 foot view of this roster. And I think that Miller is pitching for his postseason life, and potentially his future with this organization, potentially. Who knows what happens in the wintertime and what those needs end up being and if he's around. So I think the rest of the regular season here is big for him. And I think it starts now because of what happened in his last start. And so what do I expect from him? It's really tough to say. He's been so inconsistent. If I have to put money on it, I would not say 5 innings, 1 run. That's not what his performances have been telling me. I hope so, but that's not what I'm confident in happening.
Yeah. Oh man. Man, we got some live chat's going lively right now. Definitely. Chad, you guys are going nuts. You guys are going crazy. I saw somebody talk about how we brought up Tommy Edman, and you know me. I mean, there were a lot of things tonight. Tom, you know me with Mr. Tom Edman. He's been stellar. He's been every little bit. I called him a weapon. I said people are going to understand what type of player Tommy Edman is. He's much
great.
better. He's much better against lefties for sure. He's got a 1,200 OPS against lefties right now. It's a small sample, but it just shows how much of a weapon his first homers tonight for the Dodgers gets him in bunches, absolutely pummels Shota Imanaga, and exclamation point. I wish it resulted in him being,
Glad he's not a rental.
Glad he's not a rental. He's here for another year. Versatile guy, can play multiple positions here for sure. So multiple stuff like Gold Glove defense. Aside from that ridiculous throw, figure it out. But we're talking about a definite 180 against left-handed pitching for sure. Yep. Like, it's great stuff. Like, he needed that for sure. You always want to see a guy get their first pump with a team, let alone two. And it's good stuff. So you want to see him at leadoff, Joe, man? I mean, Ohtani's locked in there for now, gets the most opportunities.
Especially while he's chasing 50. They're going to leave.
Especially while he's chasing 50.
Yeah.
So, and Kenny says he was due to break out. Shame the game was lost tonight for sure. Definitely agree with that. Absolutely. I mean, there's getting a lot of love here. Finally got his first home run, Joe, man. I love Tommy Edman. He is definitely getting a lot of run. And it's a guy that is going to be a piece. And I'm just excited about him. Godfrey, thanks for the super chat, man. Tough 2 games. Let's just get October healthy. Isn't that what it's all about?
That is what it's about now. Absolutely. Yeah. Get these guys who should be in the rotation, who should be in the lineup in there. I think the standings will take care of themselves for the rest of the regular season. If they stay healthy, I think they'll be fine. It's just then getting there, making sure everybody's where they need to be. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, man, if they go in as healthy as we feel like they're going to be, I feel like this is their best chance since 2020 by far.
Yeah. Starting pitching wise, get some guys on a run, bullpen, figure it out. I need Dave Roberts to stop doing these little things. That's when we can talk Dave. But let's just give some clean innings where they're at. It's all about just carving out some roles. And I think towards October, we're going to see some different stuff here. That's just how it is. That's just how it is with Dave. It's all about auditioning for the moment. You just cannot. And I'm going to bring guys, don't, if you think I glossed over Dave Roberts stuff earlier, I started some things because I've got some pretty solid thoughts with Dave about how going like the last month of 2023 and how much it still irks me about the approach and guys saying, oh, it's just another game. It's just, first game of the postseason. It's just like any other. I totally disagree. I'll disagree with that. And I'm not in the game. That's fine. I'm sitting in a computer chair talking to you guys about Dodgers ball, totally different thing. But the last thing that fans want to hear, or is that it's just another game when the blunders have happened year after year. It's Dave Roberts' job to get the guys going. Absolutely. So the critique I'll give Dave is that this pressing division and, a race to stay in front of the Padres and the Diamondbacks is manufactured, this press. And I think it's good for them. And you're seeing it with Mookie Betts starting to play with a little bit of grit, a little bit of anger, and I love it. But I really think that you've got to rise up. You've got to have a definite switch for sure. Definite switch. That's my biggest critique, man.
Yeah. I like it. I like that they're being pushed just enough. It's not like it's every other day, the standings change for them or anything like that. Again, I think if they're healthy, the wins and losses are going to take care of themselves and they'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But the cushion's just small enough that, they're going to have to keep their foot on it. And I like that. It's a different way to go into the postseason for a team that's been regular season dominant for a long time and have made the rest of the division look pretty bad by comparison, even though that the division hasn't always been bad. This is a little bit of a change. Let's see how they respond. Again, the biggest thing for them is they're healthy.
Yeah, I agree. And right here, it's good to have you, man. Thanks for being active in chat tonight. We appreciate that. Shout out to the over, 1,000 here across all platforms. He says early September, they can coast. The last week of September, you got to go somewhat playoff mode and go in hot. 100%. You have to. And that just comes with the importance of the first round bye. And if you don't have it, you've got to manufacture the switch, because you're not getting these playing games, this playing series that Major League Baseball wants to hand wildcard teams here to get 3 games possibly to find their postseason footing, find that heartbeat. And then you go in with a little bit of a step. You go in already feeling that heartbeat, feeling the buzz of October baseball. So the Dodgers just have to avoid that again. So they haven't done it. They haven't been able to avoid that. Let's see if they could do it again. And if not, chat, I'll be here. I'll be here to rip it a new one. I will be. You can count on that. I know people always talk about, oh, Dodger Blue, corporate Dodger Blue. No, I'll sit on here and critique the hell out of the team if they don't turn that switch again, because it's inexcusable stuff. But right now, you've got a spot where the team is playing with some fire. You can see it tonight. I don't care. Don't talk to me about that. But they've been playing good ball against good teams, and that's been a measuring stick for me for a bit. Yeah, Bob, I got you. And Anthony feels the same way for sure. There's no hiding from postseason blunders, because we've got to sit and talk about it with you guys, and we love every second. I love every second of it. So I think it's question time. Guys, if you have anything that we haven't covered, all caps question, Anthony and I are going to do our best to explain and digest that stuff in. Joe Man, Matt Scott, I'm not mad at all. Like this is stuff we've dealt with for a few years here. It's for sure like the life of being a Dodgers fan, life of covering the team, and knowing that they put so many expectations. Fans pay a stupid amount of money to go watch them. You've got to pay a ridiculous amount of money to watch them at home on TV. So for sure, all critique is valid. It's just baseball at the end of the day, but it's a brand of baseball that they put this expectation on us. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right, guys. All claps questions time. Put those up here. I'm going to star as many as I can here. And Angel, I don't know if you're still in here, Angel Valenzuela. I questioned this one, or I started earlier in the show. Would I keep the lineup the same? I really would. I think that Mookie Betts has settled into that second spot there. Freddie Freeman right behind him. Teoscar Hernandez, you slotted in. You want to mix and match. I mean, the only argument is kind of with what they're going to do with Will Smith. And if he finds his footing there, I think that the conversation of Max Muncy being put down in the order, I think today he was batting 7th. He's batting 7th in the order against the lefty for sure. But it's going to come handedness. It is going to make a lot of difference there. Any changes at the bottom of the order that you would have an issue with?
I think it depends on the opposing pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do like the Edman in center, Rojas at short lineup, and Gavin Lux at second. I like that lineup. In terms of the order that those guys, I think it's just dependent on who's doing what. Gavin Lux gets hot again, he moves up. If Will Smith finds it, he moves up. It's just kind of dependent on that when you get to that part of the order. The first 5 guys, I think for the most part are pretty set, and I'm fine with that. I don't mind Ohtani in that leadoff spot. It's not foreign to him. He's done it before. And even after the chase for 50, we're talking, if they leave it in October, I'm fine with it. If they decide that they're going to switch it and they move Mookie back to 1 and Ohtani 2, fine with that as well. They really do like the lefty righty splits though, sort of staggering those guys. I think it's smart. And the one thing about Ohtani as a leadoff hitter is, and it's not that Mookie can't do this, but there's a different intimidation factor with Ohtani in the box as the number 1 hitter for the opposing pitcher. It's like from pitch number 1, I cannot make a mistake. This is the best offensive player in all of baseball, probably. I cannot make a mistake with this very first pitch I'm about to throw, because Ohtani hacks. Like he attacks. And so I like putting that kind of pressure on the opposing pitcher. And I will say this, man, there's some vibes to be had if pitch number 1 in the bottom of the first inning at Dodger Stadium is thrown and Ohtani hits it out.
You say vibes to be had. I like that.
Trying to recover
yeah,
from
man. Kyle Schwarber style. Like he gets the bank rocking. Like when that stuff happens, like I hope he finds a little bit higher clip of contact here, because I know I saw somebody in before we even hopped on talking about how he went hitless and stuff like this. 50-50 comes and goes. If he gets it, if he doesn't get it, I hope there's a switch that's flipped where he finds a little bit more contact. You see a different type of hitter here. He's versatile in any way. He can do damage however he pleases, you know.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have a hit tonight, but he hit 2 to the wall, and that
yes,
ball
he hit a rocket double play.
And then the ball he hit for a double play was like the hardest hit ball of the game at that time, and it had like a 560 expected batting average. Like, I mean, he hits it 3 feet to either side, and it's a double probably. So
100%.
yeah, it is what it is. But I am with you. I think he is chasing a little bit. I think the 50's in his head in terms of like he really wants to get it. He's still finding the barrel.
Yeah. He's still finding a barrel, definitely. I mean, outside of that, guys, I mean, the question of how much is Kevin Kiermaier going to be used, I'd have to look at what day like that decision with Jason Hayward came about. But if we're talking about how much Kevin Kiermaier has been used and how much Tommy Edman is playing now, we're getting into the conversation of, Kevin Kiermaier. You're going to use him. He's going to be on the roster for a defensive thing. And that's when we'll get to our later shows when we do start sort of postseason predictions with roster stuff and filling out the rest and maximizing every single guy. Freddie Freeman, he's been good, man. He's been good. He's just steady Freddie. We'll get a little bit more from him there, but I think what do you have yesterday? 3 walks, or a couple of days ago he had 3 walks. Some crazy lines, man. Yeah. Just gets on base. It's just a premium clip. Teoscar, we avoided big time. Bob says Kevin Kiermaier is a goober. Yeah, man, I feel it's just Max Muncy against lefties right now is playing at, finding his power stroke. And I had a conversation with some people that him having that pop looks like pre-injury Max Muncy. That stuff, not missing mistakes. And what we've been seeing from the Dodgers lately is not missing these mistakes in the heart of the zone. Definitely Tommy Edman crushed 2 of them. Max Muncy crushed 1. It's just a matter of putting those strings of hits together. I don't feel like it's a boom or bust offense, you guys, just to keep it a buck. Like, I don't feel like they're at a point where it is just hunting for a home run and that's all they do day in and day out, just for the record. Let's get to another one here. I forgot. I don't have Blake question or starring these things here. Let's see. Howie Land, just the first one I see. Can you please explain to the chat that small ball doesn't work in the playoffs? Oh my gosh. There's a lot of opinions on small ball. I think like the Dodgers have shown that they will do a tiny bit, and we're talking like a fraction of a percentage. But a lot of the numbers say just you don't bunt and give away outs. I think if the moment calls for it and the position or the spot in the lineup or the batter dictates the spot there, if Kevin Kiermaier is up with runners on first and second, nobody out, yes, I'm telling him to bunt. Austin Barnes, I'm telling him to bunt. Miguel Rojas, if you got to bunt him, we got to talk. It's just all situational for me, honestly. But you're not going to have Ohtani, Mookie, Freddie, or Teoscar Hernandez laying down a bunt. So you're talking, it just comes down to 5 other guys in the lineup, maybe even less than that, 3. Are you asking Max Muncy to bunt, Ant?
No, absolutely not. I'm also not asking Mookie Betts with the runner on second to make sure he can kind of, stick out a ground ball to the right side of the infield. I'm not asking Mookie Betts to do that. No, the definition of small ball, I think, is sometimes a little bit confusing. I think people think sacrifice bunting, and the only other real thing I could think of is like moving the runner over. Like I said, like you're not going to ask Mookie Betts to do that. I think like that's what constitutes small ball. Maybe stealing some bags, but the Dodgers steal bases. It's not just Ohtani. They will run on you if you sleep on them. And then the sac fly stuff, like you can't go up and going, I'm gonna go hit a sacrifice fly. It doesn't really work like that in baseball when you're facing 98 on black or whatever. So that's sort of how you define small ball. And it's like, look, man, with the guns they have in this lineup, like I said, I'm not asking Mookie Betts to move a runner over when he's up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry.
I'm just play like if you're hitting a sac fly, if you're hitting the deep fly ball, cool. Like, yeah.
Then it happens. Then cool. Then it happens. But I'm not telling a guy to go up there and being like, hey man, Gavin Lux is on second base. Let's make sure you get him over to Mookie Betts or somebody like that, like Teoscar Hernandez. I'm not telling him to do that either.
I want, man, if you tell me with the storyline of Mookie Betts and the narrative I had is that, oh my God, the amount of times earlier in the year he would get himself into, like he would take a pitch, straight down Broadway, down the middle. He would get himself in a 2-strike count in a run scoring spot, and he would strike out or miss a big pitch. And I'll just, oh my God, you've seen him lately being aggressive. Don't miss your pitch. Crank one. That's what I want to see. Again, I see you guys in chat talking about, situational stuff for sure. If we're talking situational where one run will make a difference or win a ball game, or you just want to tack one on, 100%. But if it's the moment just doesn't call for it, if it's not in traditional baseball stuff to just give away an out in the postseason, you're not going to do it. And especially when you haven't seen them do it for years, it's not just going to pop up in October randomly. You would have seen it more in the year already. And the only guys you have really seen doing that are who? Austin Barnes or Kevin Kiermaier, those type of guys. So it will be them again if it happens.
Yeah, and you like you said, if it's Kiermaier or if it's Barnes or those kinds of situations call for a bunt, then okay, fine. But especially in October, every out, all 27 becomes so valuable, so valuable. You do not want to give them away, and especially if you might have a pitcher on the ropes, you cannot give him free outs. You can't. It's just you're asking to limit yourself there. When you could, a team like this can deliver a knockout blow. I'll tell you what, we've seen a bunch of crooked numbers from this team this season. And when I say crooked, I'm talking 4, 5 run innings, those kinds of just snowball effect. We saw this early on, and we've seen it now that they've gotten healthy again. They can just overwhelm a pitcher. There's no breaks when they're healthy. You want to put an end to that quickly, start bunting guys over or stealing bases where you shouldn't be stealing bases and guys getting thrown out and ending those kinds of rallies. Happens quick, and your offense turns in from one of the best in baseball to very mediocre very fast.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. All right, guys, any last couple questions here? I'm going to take 2 more. I'm going to take 2 more and we'll get out of here. We appreciate you joining us on this, now late one. Over 1,000 in for the majority of the stream. Almost all. Just do us a favor. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. We bring you a ton of post-game live stuff, some pre-game live stuff, and daily videos, as always here. Let's see here. Obviously, assuming they get that far, who do you see going ballistic in October and winning the NLCS World Series?
There you go, Jonathan.
There you go. Get some, definite hypothetical stuff in here. Who's your one?
I will
3.
say,
I don't care about the order. Don't do that. Just give me 3 that you like. No, I don't want to know the order.
Okay.
That's fine.
Teo.
Sure.
Shohei. Edman.
Man, that's a fun list. I steal my 2. You guys stealing my 2. Oh my God.
I think Edman has a chance. Out just real quick. I think Edman's the kind of guy who has a chance to go
he gets on base
11,
at a high clip. He's a big batting average guy. He just gets on
9
bat
for
on
15
ball,
with 4 doubles and a homer.
Sure. Yeah. He's just bat to ball inclined. You get him in a good matchup versus lefty. We're talking 2 for 3, a pump, stop. Yeah. People say there's very concerned about Will Smith. Yeah, we'll talk. There's a lot to digest, the breakdown there. We'll come back. There's probably a longer stuff there. But for me, I'm going to say Teoscar, because I've been saying it all year. I said on domestic opening day, I was X Factor, man. Kira, X Factor for Edman. I love Tommy Edman. I'm not going to say that one as well, just because you did. But yes, he's one of mine. Chad, is this the year? Is this the year that Mookie Betts does it? G-Rob, no, we didn't. Anthony Banda is going to be out. He's got a fracture. He's going to be out. Let me know. We've got 1,000 in here. Spam this. Is Mookie Betts going to have a postseason? I need to know, because can we do another Ofer stretch? Is this going to be the one? Is pissed off Mookie Betts going to do it? I see 1. Yes. He's rested. You believe so? He's not going nuclear. Man. It's got to be, right? We can't do this. If he has another run like he did in 2018, goes off in the regular season, and the only thing he does is a stat pad homer off Kershaw in the World Series, can't do it. His 2020 was great in first year with the Dodgers. Mookie Revenge Tour. You guys are vibing with Mookie. I feel if he rolls in, was it Hep? Did you bring that up about just last week of the year? People saying Godfrey says, hope so. Craig, great to see you, man. Always appreciate you joining a bunch of different streams. You support
I
all the
think
time.
another factor for him is the lineup that's around him now is like just so good that it doesn't feel like he's the guy that has to do it now.
Let's see. Kira, I'm going to disagree just because for my personal narrative, I'm going to give it all to Ron Washington. That's it. I believe, he's mad. He missed a lot of time and he feels like the way he's playing, he could win MVP, but I'm just going to, give my hat tip to Ron Washington for making a smart baseball move and having it blowing up in his face. And that's the reason why that we get the Mookie Betts that we get right now. So that's my narrative. So I'm going to stick with it as a known Mookie stan. A lot of people. So it's good to see chat. It's really good to see this. Now, the next question I would ask is that confidence in Mookie Betts coming from, Kira, thank you, Ron. Is that confidence coming from just because he can't possibly do that again and having another letdown postseason, or it's because you're seeing a completely different Mookie Betts here since he's come back from injury?
I think there's a different feel for him right now. And like I said, I think it's the fact that he does not have to be the diamond in this lineup anymore.
I love that point from you. Yeah.
There's other guys who can pick it up. If he doesn't deliver the big hit in that situation, he's got one of the best RBI guys in the league coming up behind him, or he's got a recent former MVP coming up behind him, those kinds of situations. And I think that in the past with him, he was absolutely pressing. You could see it in the swing and miss stuff that he had, in the chase that he had. I think now he's also going to be pitched a little differently too. I think if he's hitting like second and, you're coming off a Shohei Ohtani double or a walk to Ohtani or something like that, I think his profile, his hitter profile is going to look a little different this year just because of what's around him.
Yeah, definitely. All right, chat. You guys are riding with it. You guys are riding with Mookie Betts. We'll touch base on this again. Probably in a couple weeks when we do more postseason prep here. I know we're going to be going crazy with how much we do in terms of our video stuff, live video stuff, prepping you guys, digesting every single thing you want to talk postseason ball going into it, being here. I know daily. We're going to be doing a ton. We've got a lot cooking here with Dodger Blue. It's a good time. Definitely tonight stunk, but it did not sour the stuff we saw from Yoshinobu Yamamoto in this terrific start tonight. He was every bit as dominant as he was prior to getting hurt. Just incredible stuff. Now, the question is, can they avoid being swept with Bobby Miller on the mound? Who knows? I'm not even going to say it's a coin flip because the odds are stacked against him because of how south things can go with Bobby Miller on the mound. They face Jordan Wicks, a lefty. So Teoscar starts tomorrow, 7-10 game. You've got an offense that has done fairly well about, putting up runs via the home run against lefties. So if they can out hit, they can out hit. They've just got to outpace if Bobby Miller decides to have another clunker. But we'll see. I love what you said. It's an audition. It's an audition for a postseason roster. People said it's an audition for even being on the roster because they definitely are at a spot where they're juggling. We need the innings, but they need productive innings. They need someone to just keep them in a game and how they're going to do it from there. Because at the end, if he doesn't do it again, I'm going to say, man, where's Ben Kasparius? Like, when can we get him up here filling again? So, a lot of people saying answer is no. Guys, as always, we appreciate you a ton. 1,100 at one point. Like, thanks for joining in. Anthony, any last thoughts before we toss it off?
No, like I said, I think that, frustrating night in the way it ended, but the bigger picture is positive with Yamamoto back and doing what he did tonight. He was dealing. So that's all on the upswing. Yeah.
Kira says, last thought, hope to see Bobby Miller do his job instead of being a placeholder in the starting rotation. Avoid the sweep. That's all he's got. He's got to just keep him in a ball game long enough for the offense to hope to scratch it across. And you will see a different defensive performance around there because everybody expects Dave Roberts to, throw some chairs around and rile it up. But we will see it. Bob, we appreciate you. Chat, everybody in here, make sure you take the time, like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. I'm Scott Geirman, senior staff writer, Dodger Blue. This is Anthony Witrado. Always appreciate you joining in, man. As always, guys, it's a good time to be a Dodger fan. Tune in. Keep us posted. Go Dodgers, baby.